negative 10 times a plus 2 is in parentheses. Remember, if there's a number outside of the parentheses, you're going to distribute it, which means you're going to multiply it to both of the terms inside the parentheses. So we'll get negative 10 times a is negative 10a, and then a negative 10 times a positive 2 is negative 20. And we cannot combine those because they're not like terms, so that is your final answer after it's simplified. Negative 4 times 4 plus 3p. You're going to multiply the negative 4 to both of the terms inside the parentheses. A negative times a positive is a negative, and 4 times 4 is 16. And then a negative times a positive is a negative again, and 4 times 3p is 12p. So negative 16 minus 12p would be your final answer. Negative 6, and then in parentheses times x plus 2 minus 2. So we're going to distribute first. Negative 6 times positive x is negative 6x. Negative 6 times positive 2 is negative 12. And I'm just going to rewrite the negative 2 that is behind it. And then I have my like terms here. A negative 12 and a negative 2 are like terms, so I'm going to combine them. So I'm going to rewrite my negative 6x. And if I have 12 negatives and 2 more negatives, I have a total of 14 negatives. So negative 6x minus 14 would be my final answer. Negative times a minus 6 in parentheses plus 2a. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute. Negative 5 times a is negative 5a. A negative times a negative is a positive, and 5 times 6 is 30. And then don't forget to bring down the plus 2a. My like terms here are negative 5a and a positive 2a. If I have different signs, I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3, and I'll take the sign of the bigger number. So it would be a negative 3a. And I don't have anything to combine the positive 30 with, so I'm just going to rewrite it. And that would be the final answer, negative 3a plus 30. 4n minus 2n equals 4. So if you ever have like terms on the same side of the equal sign, the first thing you need to do is combine them. So if I have 4n minus 2n, I have a positive 2n. I bring down the equal sign, bring down the 4, and if you're comfortable drawing that line down the center, that's a good habit to get into. Then you ask yourself, what are they doing right here to the n? They are multiplying by 2, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. My 2's cancel out. I'm left with n equals 4 divided by 2 is 2. N equals 2 is my final answer. Negative 12 equals 2 plus 5v plus 2v. I'm going to draw my line down the equal sign, and I see some like terms on the same side of the equal sign that I can combine. And notice when I'm circling these, I'm actually circling the plus sign in front of them because that's a positive 5v and a positive 2v. And that is going to become 7v. And then the 2 on this side stays a plus 2. And on this side I have a negative 12. I could have also written it on this side as 2 plus 7v. It would have been the same thing. So now I can't combine 7v and 2 because they're not like terms. So I'm going to try and get my constant terms on the same side. So I'm going to move that negative or that positive 2. I'm going to move it to the other side by subtracting 2. And I have negative 12 and a negative 2. Same signs. I'm going to add and keep the sign the same. So I get negative 14. I have a 0 pair on this side. And on this side I also have 7v. And that means 7 times v. They're multiplying the v by 7. So I'm going to divide by 7. And the 7's cancel out, and I'm left with a v on that side. Negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 14 divided by 7 is 2. V equals negative 2 is our answer. Three equals x plus 3 minus 5x. Draw my line down the equation, and I'm going to combine any like terms that are on the same side of the equation. So over here I have a positive 1x and a negative 5x. So at different signs you're going to subtract and take the sign of the bigger number. So if it helps you to think of this as a 1x, so we're going to subtract 5 minus 1 is 4, and the sign of the bigger number is a negative. So we have a negative 4x, and the 3 still stays there as a positive 3. And on this side of the equal sign, we also have a 3. So to combine, I can't add the 3 plus 3 yet because they're not on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to do the inverse, the opposite, to get it to the other side. And this leaves me with a 0 pair on this side. And 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 equals negative 4x. They are multiplying the x by negative 4, so I'm going to divide by negative 4. And 0 divided by negative 4 is 0. And on this side I have x. X equals 0 is our final answer. X plus 3 minus 3 equals negative 6. So I'm going to draw my line down the center. I'm going to combine any like terms that are on the same side of the equal sign. A positive 3 and a negative 3 becomes 0. So that is fairly easy. Then the only thing left on this side is x, and on this side is negative 6. Therefore, x equals negative 6 is our final answer. We know we're done because the variable is by itself, it's alone, and it's positive. So x equals negative 6 is the final answer. Negative 12 equals 3 minus 2k minus 3k. After I draw my line, I look for like terms that are on the same side of the equal sign. I have negative 2k and a negative 3k. If we have the same signs, we add and we keep the sign the same. So that turns into, first let me bring down my 3, and then this turns into negative 5k. And on this side, I still have a negative 12. Right now, I can't combine my negative 12 and my 3 until they're on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to do the inverse of a positive 3, which is a negative 3. So I will subtract 3 from both sides. And I have a 0 pair on this side. And I also have my negative 5k. Don't forget that 5k is negative. And over here, I have negative 12 and negative 3, same signs, so I add the numbers and keep the sign the same. And they are multiplying the k by negative 5, therefore I'm going to do the opposite and divide by negative 5. And that leaves me with A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. K equals 3 is my final answer.